Hello, this is Christopher Ruspe. I'm a chartered market technician and a certified financial planner. I specialize in comprehensive financial planning, and today we're going to be talking about part two in our video series, Back to School. And today we're going to be talking about it from a parent's perspective, not from a financial planner's perspective. I've now gotten 3 kids through college, and it's kind of one of those things I wish I knew then what I know now. So I'd like to share this information with you. Maybe you can spread it around to other people who still have kids that need to go through college. And hopefully you can benefit from either the mistakes that I made or the things that I didn't know. Our last video in this series is going to be about student responsibility. So you'll want to forward that on to your kids. And our first video in the series was about the savings tools that are out there to put money away for college. But this series we're going to be dedicated to the parents. This is just in maybe in somewhat random order, but I will try and highlight the most important points. The first thing is the financial aid form. Now, even if most aid is need-based in the United States, and when I say need-based, they draw a very generous definition of what affluent is. If you make any substantial money at all, and you haven't saved quite a bit of the cost of college, you're not going to qualify for need-based aid. And the problem is that if your kids move out on their own, they've put in a lot of questions on the financial aid form to try and catch people who are trying to qualify where the kids are self-independent. So it's really difficult from anyone's perspective to qualify for aid unless you're under, $100,000 or $80,000 a year of income. It's really, really difficult. The other thing that's frustrating about the financial aid form is if your kid gets a full scholarship for playing sports or a full scholarship for academic, you still have to fill out the financial aid form. And if you make $1 million a year and you know you're not going to qualify, you still have to fill out the financial aid form. The other thing is that all of your personal financial information is going to be uploaded to your kid's financial aid form. So your opportunity to keep your finances confidential from your kid basically gets eliminated in the years that they're in college, and there's no way around it. The other thing about the financial aid form is even if you have done some really creative planning and you qualify for some sort of need-based aid, the colleges have gotten more sophisticated about trying to plug those loopholes as well. And so even though you fill out a financial aid form, you may have to fill out a institution-specific aid form, which catches things that maybe fall through the cracks on the financial aid form. But I guess the bottom line takeaway with the financial aid form is it's like a migraine headache that you can't do anything about, and most likely it's just going to be frustrating because if you've accumulated any substantial net worth, you're not going to qualify for need-based aid, which really highlights the importance of the last video in the series. You need to save for college in advance because trying to pay for it out of cash flow is really, really difficult, especially if you have more than one kid in college at a time like I do. Let's see, in-state versus out-of-state definitions. Now, this is a really, really big one. The definition of an in-state student will save you over $20,000 a year. And it's really, really important that you look carefully at how your state defines in-state versus out-of-state. Each state is different. Now, for instance, in Florida, as long as a child is living with their biological parent that has custody of them or joint custody of them, they can only live there one day and they're considered in-state. In Maryland, the rules are different. You have to live there for a period of time before you qualify for in-state. So make sure you plan for this. This is a big, big cost savings, and it's definitely worth planning for. Next thing is community colleges. Back in the old days when I went to college, community colleges kind of had a bad rap. They were for kids that just didn't get into any good schools, and that's changed a lot because people are trying to cut down on the cost of college. Um, Now I don't know where you live, but where I live, the community colleges are ranked as some of the best community colleges in the country, and they're really a good value. Um, so I really encourage you to consider sending your child to 2 years of community college. Most of the community colleges have um, like a reciprocity agreement where if they get their AA degree, all of their credits will transfer and they won't lose any credits. That used to be a scam back in the old days that used to hurt people in the 80s and 90s where you'd take 2 years worth of classes at community college to try and save money. Then you'd transfer to a 4-year institution. You find out that they didn't accept a 30 year credits and you were right back, with having lost another semester. So they've plugged that loophole here in Maryland, and it's a really nice thing. You know that if the kid takes community college classes and it leads to an AA, they're not going to lose any of their credits, which is really, really nice. So I strongly recommend community college, especially, not every student is ready to handle the responsibilities of living independently. And I just highly recommend that they have a little bit more time to grow into their adulthood. Um, let's see. Academic Common Market. All right, so this is a nice little secret that I didn't know anything about, even though I'd already been a financial planner for 20 years when my first child went off to college. Um, each college, each state participates in an exchange market, and the exchange market basically means that if your child wants to take a major that isn't offered in your state, they can take that major at a participating institution anywhere in the market that your state participates in and get in-state tuition. Okay? I think an example might actually make this more clear. So if your child wanted to take a major that wasn't offered in your state, let's just say petroleum exploration.com or whatever it is, and it wasn't offered in your state, but it was offered in North Dakota, and North Dakota was in your exchange market. Your child could go down and they could take that major in North Dakota and get in-state tuition. This is a really, really nice feature of planning for college. Now, Maryland is in, I think, the best academic common market because our market goes from Maryland to Florida over to Alabama. Includes a lot of different cultures, a lot of different states, a lot of different geography that the child can get exposure to. Then you have a separate academic common market for the northeast part of the United States. But of course, the cost of college is the most expensive in the northeast part of the United States. So although there's an exchange there, it's still really expensive. And then California has its own exchange, which since they break everything, I guess they deserve to have their own exchange. So make sure you check out, as a parent, make sure you check out the Academic Common Market. And of course, that's been made a lot more powerful by online degrees. You can get a degree from Arizona State, you can get a degree from Georgia, you can get a degree from a lot of really reputable schools by sitting in Maryland and taking the classes remotely, and you cut your cost by 2/3. So it's a really nice feature. That's called the Academic Common Market. Let's see, miscellaneous things. Definitely do not co-sign your students' loans. If you co-sign your students' loans, then you're on the hook, period. If your student doesn't pay for them, the reason they want you to co-sign them is because you're the deep pocket that they're going to come after. It is a little tough on the kid. It may force your children to make some compromises, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, but definitely do not co-sign their loans. And the other problem with co-signing loans, besides the fact that you will end up paying it 90% of the time, The other problem is that if they do decide to pursue a tuition, like a tuition reduction or tuition payment loophole, and I'll get into what that mean by that, they won't qualify. All right. So in other words, if you're a teacher and you agree to teach in certain geographic areas that are considered to be low income, the federal government might pay off a year of your tuition. Well, if you've co-signed that as their parent, I've seen clients not qualify for that. All right. There's some states that are losing young people as far as their population, and they will pay you to come live there, like I believe it's Maine, maybe it's Vermont, but you will not qualify for some of these programs if the parent has co-signed or if the loan was taken out in the parent's name. So definitely what you're looking at here is, do not take the loan out in your name. Do not take the loan out in your name with the child as the secondary, and do not take the loan out with the child first and you as the secondary, because it all comes down to the same thing. There's going to be times when you end up paying it, and there's going to be times when you don't qualify for tuition breaks. Let's see. We covered academic common market. We covered do not cosign loans. I guess the last recommendation I'll make is that, and this isn't so much as I guess it's kind of as a parent, it's also as a financial planner. Try and make sure your child has some skin in the game when they make a decision as far as where they're going to go to college. This is really, really important, because if they just think they have a blank check, they're going to make all kinds of, strange priorities be the determining factor. Like, I want to go to college in Florida because I want to be on the beach, or I want to go to college in California, in LA because I love Hollywood. And it's going to drive up the cost significantly. But when you make it about their finances and about their financial decision making, it can be a good process for them, where they have to make a decision based on priorities and reasonableness. And of course, these are two of the things that you need to learn in order to be successful in adulthood. So the sooner they learn this, the better. And I guess the last thing I just say is, take this opportunity, if you can, to mentor your children about finances if you haven't already. The number one thing I see as a financial planner is that children whose parents or grandparents have mentored them about financial planning and financial decision making are substantially more successful in accumulating a net worth than children who have not been mentored. Now, you might say to me, hey, no one mentored me. I don't really know that much about it. There is a program I highly recommend. It's a person his name is Dave Ramsey, and he's, I believe, the #1 financial, expert on YouTube. And you might want to check him out. He breaks things down into very basic principles, and I think your children would like to follow him because he's available on podcasts. So his name is Dave Ramsey. I believe it's ramsey.com. And if you feel like, you want to mentor your children, you could watch those podcasts together once a week, or you could put it on in the car and make them listen to it. But really, I'll tell you, mentoring your kids about financial decision making is a much bigger determinant of their success than them going to college. We spend all this money. We spend $150,000 sending them to college, and that's a type of education, but we don't teach them how to manage their own finances, which is a much more important financial determinant of their future net worth. So that's a lot of information I just gave you. We're a little bit longer than we normally are, but this is an important topic in our Back to School series. If you want to make sure you don't miss future video series, we'll be talking about decisions police should make. We'll be talking about decisions veterans should make. And we'll be talking about decisions farmers and ranchers should make on future video series. But we do have one more Back to School video coming out. And if you want to make sure you don't miss it, make sure you hit the subscribe button or like this video and pass it on to other people that you know. I'd really appreciate it. We're trying to improve the world one person at a time. And we're using social media video as a way to do that. You can also find my videos on my website at appliedfinancialwisdom.com. And I hope y'all are safe in the hurricane weather that's out there today. And I hope to hear from you soon about what you'd like to see on our channel. Thanks and have a good day.